My name is Jackie Davis. I'm the Executive Director of the Mental Health Association of the Eastern Shore. And today we're going to have a conversation with Michael Nye, who is our guest artist here with his exhibit, Fine Lines, Mental Health, Mental Illness. This is an exhibit that we feel very worthy and important to have here on the Midshore area throughout the month of May through June 5th. Which is May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So we're going to pose some questions to Michael and find out his thinking when he was developing the exhibit and just what he has learned and what he hopes this exhibit will impart to the audience. So welcome, Michael. We're really glad you're here.
Honored to be here. What a great place to have the exhibit at Chesapeake College. It's a great collaborative endeavor.
It is, and in fact, I have to say Chesapeake College has just been wonderful to work with. They really helped us plan this thoroughly, and they've done an exemplary job allowing us the exhibit space and then helping to with our opening night reception and everything. It's just terrific, and we appreciate that support. Now, I have a little bit of background information about your exhibit, and I know it took a few years, but hopefully, tell the audience a little bit, if you would, about what brought you to create this exhibit, the length of the exhibit, and some of the things that you worked on during that time frame, and what was the result.
Well, it's a unique project in that there's 50 portraits, and every person speaks in their own voice about their life, their experience, their history. And so imagine going up to a large black and white portrait, and there's headphones and an audio box. So you walk up, each one has one, you put on headphones. And I think that after I finished this project, I really realized that it's about our shared humanity. These stories are about what we have in common, but they're also about our shared fragility, that anyone could have a problem, have an issue with mental health or anything. And so these are stories, powerful stories. And one of my premises on all of my project is a belief that everyone has a wisdom about their own life experience. And what is that? And so I think of the people in this project are teachers and students. You and myself are students coming in, listening and learning from them. I took 4 years working on this project. I traveled around the country. I spent 2 to 3 days with each person. Wow. And so it was a collaborative project with each other. It's traveled to maybe 50 or 60 cities. A lot of museums of art, science centers, medical schools have leased it. And so it's probably one of the biggest privileges of my life to be able to work on this project and to hear these stories.
Well, I know one of the reasons we wanted to bring this exhibit here to our area is that for us at the Mental Health Association, this is what we're all about. We are trying to educate the community about what folks that experience mental illnesses, what they go through, what their lives are like, what their families need, and have I guess support is the word, the need for support and compassion. Unfortunately, I just think nowadays with media, the way it's portrayed a lot in media, it's scary to people, so we don't talk about it. And that creates even more, I think it makes it more fearful. And that is what we are hoping. This exhibit will open some eyes, will open conversations amongst each other to get a greater understanding. And that's what we at the Mental Health Association that's what we're about. That's our mission. Do you have, I think I know the answer, but I want to ask you anyway, any particular of your 60 portraits, any one or two particularly stand out to you? I know the one that captured me that I want to go to is the one that is the group picture, because I immediately said, oh, that'll be interesting. That's a family. And you said, no, that's not a family. That's a jury. And that's the one, in particular that struck me. But did you have any?
There's many, but what you talked about, discrimination and stigma, is such an important part of this project. And I learned so much from listening. But I think so many people believe that if you're mentally ill, you're dangerous or violent, which is not true.
True.
or they
Yep.
think that they're poor or unintelligible, or lack of education, or that they're being punished because of something they've done, or their mental illness is rare, which it's not, or they're contagious. And one of the things I say over and over again is mental illness is not the result of a weakness of character, and mental illness is treatable. And
That's
it's
important.
so important
Yes.
to understand that there's hope, there's resilience, you can get better, it's important. And that's what your organization has done so well, is that you brought into focus for all of us in this community what mental illness is and how someone can be helped. And you've set in motion so many important programs for families, for mothers, for veterans, and it's so important to support what you all are doing. But to answer your question about, maybe there's one story I could talk about, so many, but I'm thinking about Vinny, and he's in this project, and he grew up loving Italian food, his mother's cooking, and baseball. He said, I never thought that I would have a mental illness. And when he was about 15, he just stopped talking. And he didn't talk again for about 15 years.
Oh, wow.
And he was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And one day in a mental health facility, someone there that also had a mental health issue said, Vinny, tell me about your life. And Vinny said, I opened my mouth and started talking. And it's amazing. And I met him shortly after that happened. And it was like a faucet going on. The things he said about his life, about himself, what people thought of him. It's a very moving, personal, intimate story. And I think one thing, too, that I'm reminded of is every mental illness is different and unique and private and uninvited. It's very difficult, and there's so many strategies and things one can do to feel better and get better.
You know, I know in our area here, a lot of the focus when we do trainings for especially workforce trainings is trauma focused. Right. Meaning that there was early trauma which has precipitated the mental illnesses that maybe the therapist, the counselor, the psychologist is working with that individual. Did you find that to be true when you were taking the pictures and doing the interviews?
About the trauma part?
Yeah, about that most people spoke of an early childhood trauma or a trauma at some point in their lives, and then maybe later on a mental illness came on.
You know, I heard a lot. A lot of people felt like it's genetically. They may have a brother, a mother, or father, and some predisposition. Obviously, I think of Beth in this project. She's standing in a garden, really beautiful. In fact, my wife went to school with her. And in high school, my wife said she was the most talented student. She sang songs on stage, wrote. And at home, her parents just abused her horribly. Locked her in closets, deprived her of food. Her father sexually abused her. Her mother, she said, was worse. And she suffers with agoraphobia. And she's literally stayed in one chair in her kitchen for years. But in her narrative, she speaks about kindness and the way we should treat children, libraries where we are right now, the notion of hush. I mean, so many important things. One of my heroes in life is E.O. Wilson. He's a biologist and a philosopher. And he said, we're drowning in information by the same time starving for wisdom. Information's easy, wisdom takes time.
Right.
And I think these stories are really about insight and wisdom and strategies and moments and presence and resilience and things that are important. I have gotten thousands of notes and letters over the years that this exhibit's traveled, not because of what I've done, but because of the story saying, gosh, this story, I will never forget it the rest of my life. It's taught me something. I know something now that I didn't know before. And stories really are the threads that bind us together. I mean, they're important. Mm-hmm. And just one other thought is, I think this project's about listening. And listening is about kindness, about paying attention. It's about stepping outside of your life into the life of another. And sometimes when we listen, we may know something, but now we know it in a deeper, more thoughtful way. It illuminates. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. And so, stories rest on edges of surprise and revelation. They're important. They can help us. They can do something.
Enlighten us is a good word. Did you, when you were, again, working on the project, how did you come about the folks that you chose to work with? How did you find them? How did you go about locating people?
Well, that's a good question. I first went to some physicians, psychiatrists, and psychologists, and they all said, no, there's a privacy issue. There's no way I'm going to give you a name. And no one commissioned me to do this. I just was interested in philosophy and neuroscience, and also I'm still a lawyer, but I was practicing law at that time, and my partner committed suicide. And I still feel like today, if I had known more about depression, if I had been more helpful, I still feel guilty about not, offering something to him. But in terms of finding people, then I started speaking to groups that maybe had schizophrenia or depression or bipolar disorder and anxiety issues. And they all raised their hand. When I went and spoke to a group, they said, would anybody volunteer? Almost like every hand, they want to tell their story. They feel like their voice can help. They can do something. And then I started getting invited around the country to different groups, invited me to come in and do some interviews and stories.
Very good. Well, one of the things that we're hoping too is that there are, we want churches to be aware of this exhibit and to come out and with their congregations or encourage their congregations to come out and explore this exhibit, because we feel it really can spark conversation for our humanity with each other. Schools also, we're trying to encourage schools, especially the seniors and the high schoolers, to come out, because it's just, it's very prevalent nowadays. I know what I keep emphasizing when I talk to people, we need to talk about this. We cannot go on anymore hiding, being afraid, being embarrassed. Because to this day, whenever I go anywhere to talk to a group, everybody's very quiet while I'm talking, and maybe there isn't a lot of questions on follow-up, but I'll tell you, as soon as I leave that door and I go walking to my car, I always have a person or two following me saying, I have a question. Do you have a few minutes? I have a sister, my mother, my son, my daughter. So, I'd love to get past that so that when I do talk to two groups, that they will feel comfortable anymore to just raise their hand and be open about it. But we're not there yet. We're far from it. I don't know if rural communities such as we, is it more challenging? I suspect that's a little bit of it. But anyway, we're just truly grateful that we have you here. We really feel that this is going to be beneficial for the whole community to come and experience. And then, hopefully, again, we go back home, we go to our congregations, we go to our schools, we go to our homes, and maybe have a conversation about mental health, mental illness. And as you say, it is recoverable, it's treatable, you can recover from it. These are great stories of resilience that are in this exhibit, and we just encourage a great attendance, and we hopefully get some nice comments either on the website, on our Facebook page, and we even have an opportunity here in the exhibit to put comments down on a card for us, because we'd like to learn. We'd like to learn and hear what people have to say. But wanted to get a little bit more information on age range. Now, of course, for adults, this is a great exhibit to come see, but we are encouraging school groups to come. We're encouraging, and we were thinking high schoolers. So we were just, your opinion on age range or in the school setting, middle schoolers, high schoolers, any particular age that you think would benefit from seeing this?
It's definitely appropriate for high school students. I think middle students too, middle school students. This exhibit's gone to some venues where 20,000 people have gone through. It's gone to the Missouri Museum of Art, to Lindbergh Galleries, and a lot of superintendents with schools, after seeing the exhibit, listening to it, have bussed in high school students. The Whitty Museum's a good example, where they bus in middle school and high school students. But mental health deals with difficult issues. I mean, there's suicide.
In high school is a
And
time where
there
there
are-
is some onset because of the changes that are taking place, and so that is when some mental illnesses can start
Absolutely.
showing themselves. Now, and we also want to be clear that should any schools like to come as a group, we will be happy to have someone here to sort of, to welcome you, tell you about the exhibit, and to be here for some question and answering. So we want to be clear that we fully will support your efforts in trying to bring school children here. Also, we're going to have a few talks later in the month. Beginning, I believe, the third week of May, but it's on our website. 4 talks, 1 hour long. They're also free. The first will be an hour-long talk by Joan Smith on resilience. The second will be by Lynn Sanchez talking about de-stressing in your life. Both are very good presenters. Dr. Ben Cole from Eastern Shore Psychological Services will talk for an hour on post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injuries. And then finally, the 4th talk will be given by the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. She does an hour-long talk on Talk Saves Lives, and it's just about how to talk to people who may be contemplating suicide, have been thinking about it, because that's something that I know I've learned as director. Always thought that you don't talk about suicide, because if you talk about it, then they're going to do it. And so you don't want to talk about it, where in fact it's the exact opposite. You do want to approach, to bring up, are you thinking about hurting yourself? Are you thinking about committing suicide? You want, again, we go back to, we need to talk about it and not stick our heads in the ground and think it'll just go away, because it won't. And so anyway, we encourage everybody to come out for those talks. All information can be found on our website at www.mhamdes.org. All information about the exhibit will be there. Also, you can follow us on Facebook, the Mental Health Association of the Eastern Shore, where we will be doing the entire month of May. We will be promoting the exhibit and the different events that are taking place. So again, Michael, we really appreciate you being here. We look forward to hopefully many people going through and learning and enlightening their thinking. So you have any final words of encouragement?
No, I'm just honored to have the exhibit here and to work with your important organization. This exhibit's about reflection more than it is about suffering. And as you mentioned, people coming up to you, every time this exhibit's traveled, I've had the president of a museum or a bank or a school or come up to me and said, my brother or I have depression, or my father did, or my next door neighbor or coworker. It's irrelevant. It's an important subject. The New York Times just came out with an article with a big survey saying it seems high that 50% of all Americans at some time may have a mental health issue, if you include substance abuse and dementia. And so it's something we need to talk about. It's an illness. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Again, it's not a weakness of character, and it's treatable.
Exactly. Well, thank you very much, Michael. We really appreciate this. We look forward to it, and we hope to see many people here at the exhibit running May 5th through June 5th at the Learning Resource Center, Chesapeake College. Thank you.
Thank you.